welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another interview. Today we're joined by Cody Keppel. Cody, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. So Cody's going to be sharing his story, talking about kind of his background and some strategies and tips that he's used to scale his business. So Cody, if you could just start us off and kind of talk about your background and how you got started selling on Amazon.
Sure. Would love to. So I believe I first found about Amazon back in like 2013, 2014. And I was in college at the time looking for, just some ways to make extra money online. And at that point where I was in college, I was actually buying and reselling furniture. So I'd pick up something for free off of like Craigslist, or I don't really think Facebook Marketplace was a thing at that time. Basically, take like a couch or a big piece of furniture that someone didn't want, and then I would go ahead and pick it up in my truck with a buddy, take it back to my dorm room, and then clean it up, and then flip it. And so as far as that, buying low and selling high thing, that's kind of always been, something that I've has been on my radar and I've understood. And yet, when I was really young, one of my aunts was a power seller on eBay. So I always knew that, like, hey, people have these businesses and they, can make full-time income selling online. But, I've never really enjoyed eBay just because of the amount of work that it takes to kind of list and, just that general stuff. And then you got to hold all your inventory. So I was just kind of Googling one day and ran across someone mentioning FBA and was like, "What is this? Oh, I can ship my product into Amazon, and then when it sells, they'll ship it." I was like, "That sounds great." So I then started where many people get started, which is in books. So I just went to like our library on campus to see what books they had for free, or when the semester would end, I'd offer to people, "Hey, I'll take your textbooks if the school won't pay you anything for them, and I'll see what I can get on Amazon." And so that's kind of where it started. And then it just kind of grew from there to where I kind of began tackling some clearance aisles, finding some solid Facebook groups, just kind of doing what, everyone here watching is doing, where they're just trying to consume content and learn. And for me, I would say from about 2014 to about 2016, I had also been running a moving company this whole time. So, and that was going really well. So I'd pretty much would only super focus on Amazon in the winter. And come 2016, I still hadn't really understood the concept of how powerful a replenishable product could be. So, I was just chasing clearance or going for those bangers of, 1,000% ROI on a book. And so when we got to, I think, 2016 Q4, I told my business partner that, hey, I'm going to give this Amazon thing kind of one last shot. And then, if we don't really get any traction, I'm just going to take this money that we have and kind of go do something else with it. And it ended up that I don't remember whose content it was that I ran across, but it was someone that had constructed like a pyramid. And then on the bottom of the pyramid, meaning that it was the base of your business, was kind of replenishables. And then, above that were things kind of like one-offs or, super heavy sale items, and then, and then clearance and things like that. And for whatever reason at that point, that really resonated with me. And then seeing the breakdown of kind of how just compound interest works. If you make 10% ROI, all your money month over month, that has a way greater return than waiting for, a 100% ROI for 6 months. And so then seeing kind of those things that really got, my shift to where I was realizing that there was a ton of stuff at like Walgreens and Target and Walmart that I was just walking by because I had my, sourcing criteria. I was way too strict. I was looking for kind of what we recommend to a lot of new sellers is you want to look for like 3x. So if the item costs $10, you're going to want it to sell for around 30 on Amazon, meaning that in the end, you're probably going to net around $10 or so. And at the beginning, that's a good rule of thumb for a lot of new sellers, just because it's very easy to remember, and you may not comprehend a lot of the fees that are involved in Amazon. But once you actually start to understand the fees and how sell-through rate works, you're going to want to expand your horizons and look at stuff that's like, if I can sell 1,000 of this in a month and yet make $1, and I can, prep 200 of this in an hour, something like that's going to make a lot more sense than I'm going to go, buy this one pool that took me 2 months to find, and then it's going to make me 200% ROI, just because your time and your effort, they have so much, so much value that you're not accounting for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You dropped a lot of good nuggets there. Yeah, I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make is they're focusing on just the 100% ROI items for so
Yep.
long. And eventually, like when you're scaling your business, it's going to get to a point of just being able to scale at lower margins. And like for a long time, I didn't buy stuff unless it was 50% ROI. And then I eventually dropped it down to 30 and then I think 20. And now I don't have an ROI man. I'm just looking at the margin, making sure products have at least a 12% margin. Or if like everything else is perfect, single sticker, solid profit, really good sales, will go down to 10%. But at some point, it just makes sense. Like when you have access to so much capital or you have just enough spent, it's better to spend that on lower return products than just have it sitting there not making any return.
Yep, exactly.
And then you also talked about replenishables and how that's like the bottom of the pyramid. I really like that analogy. It's super important to be focusing on finding replenishable items. And another tip is like go through your existing inventory and see what items you haven't replenished and see if those can become replenishable items that you're buying over and over again.
Yep. Another big thing for me at the start of the process was I thought that like replenishables were like food or something that like can go bad or run out. But literally, I've sold washer fluid as a replenishable thing, and then, tampons, like pools. It literally is, as long as people are continually coming to buy it, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person returning to it.
Yeah.
But as long as it's continually being bought and you can continually source it, that's pretty much how you should be thinking about a replenishable product.
Yeah. So for someone who's looking to get started and building that base of replenishables that they can go back to and buy over and over again, what are some tips that you have to kind of try and identify a good replenishable product?
So I'm going to cut this up in a couple ways. So one of the first things, due to kind of the increased competition on Amazon right now and just kind of going forward in the future, when we're hunting down things that we suspect are going to be replenishables, we're looking for things that are a little bit harder to find that you might not be able to just walk up and scan the barcode and have it pull up. So we really like a lot of food multi-packs and food bundles, and then beauty multi-packs and beauty bundles. So like, you know, I can walk up and scan the UPC of this L'Oreal shampoo and find the Amazon listing, but then I'm also going to take that a step further and I'm going to go ahead and type in like L'Oreal shampoo and see if there's a multi-pack of that shampoo, or see if someone is selling a shampoo and a conditioner. And then if someone is not selling a shampoo and conditioner and there is no listing for that, well, then I know that's a very logical thing that a consumer is going to buy together. So then I'm going to go ahead and look at the conditioner listing and see, okay, if I were to combine these two things and make them into one bundle, is something like this going to generate me revenue? And then based on kind of where their numbers lie and where their sales velocities are, you can do some extrapolation to see, okay, if I put the work into this and it works out well, I may get X amount of sales per month. And then you just got to kind of, balance and factor that, are these amount of sales and this amount of revenue, are they worth your time? And then kind of the second thing, one of the things that we really focus on in our business, we'd like to call like a sale plan. So this is really understanding like store sale cycles. So certain stores like, Kohl's, for example, will have a 40% off, like sale with a coupon for a few times a year. So there are certain things that when that sale happens that you'll be able to purchase then, and it's the only time of year where they're going to kind of meet that price point. And so therefore, if you go ahead and you analyze Keepa, which I should say, that's a side note that I'm sure Logan emphasizes a ton, is that Keepa is life, and that if you are not paying for Keepa, you are doing yourself a strong disservice and are going to make a lot of big mistakes that aren't necessary. But you can go ahead and look at a Keepa chart and go ahead and kind of see, well, this is how many sellers typically hop on this at peak. This is about the bottom of the price range when there's, a bunch of people selling this. Can I either wait this out, or is it still profitable at that price point? And then if you understand a store's sales cycles, you can be a little bit more confident in your buying decisions instead of maybe only buying 2-3 weeks worth of supply for this product, which may be like 30 units. You could go ahead and be like, I want to buy 2.5 months because I know the next time Kohl's is likely to have a sale like this, isn't until September. And so then you could go ahead and be like, cool, I'm going to go ahead and increase my purchase, because even in what looks to be the worst case scenario based on all the historical data, that this will still make me money or it'll break even. But then right now it's decently profitable. So I can kind of chase it on the way down and then have made some money. And then I can kind of wait it out until people sell out and then make more money.
Yeah, that's a really good strategy too. I find a lot of sale plans in the beauty category. Like
Yep.
some stores just have beauty sales periodically, so it's really good to build up a baseline there. One question that I have about your sale plan strategy is stocking up. I guess it always depends on the data, but what is like a max amount of time frame you want to have in stock? Like, are you going 3 months worth of inventory if it's a really good sale, or less time, longer? Just depends.
So before I answer that, I'm gonna say this, and this is really important. So when you're trying to be aggressive and discerning of a sale plan and how much you should buy, you really need to consider your overall cash flow and how much of your money you're going to be tying up in this thing and for how long. We typically don't like to spend more than about 5% of our cash flow on any one particular ASIN. There is an exception. For example, we just literally received 10 pallets today of a particular product that those 10 pallets should last us until about October. But it's one of those things that in order to get the proper price, to go directly to the manufacturer, and I basically got to be at that buying volume in order to get the discount necessary to make this really worth my while. And that, from 10 pallets of this thing, that's 4 or 5 months of stock. That's a decent chunk of time to hold. But I know based on what's happened historically with this product, from literally looking at it not only for the past year, but all 5.5 years that this thing's been on Amazon, I have a very good grasp on the most number of sellers that I've ever seen on the listing and then the fewest. And so I'm very confident in that the people that are selling this product are also going directly to this manufacturer and also purchasing at this level. And so I can see that in the consistency of the price and the consistency of the amount of sellers on the listing. And so what I would not want to have happen here is for someone to hear what I'm saying right now and be like, well, Cody said to go buy 6 months of this because it makes sense. And yet you tied up 80% of your cash. When you're starting out and you're really small, I would much rather have you take a base hit and think to yourself, wish I could have bought, twice as much of this product that was super profitable, as opposed to you going ahead and thinking, man, I'm stuck with this product. It tanked. I'm going to lose $3 per sale. And, life sucks. And something like that, especially when you're starting out with, only in the thousands or even hundreds of dollars of, capital to spend, a mistake like that can really crush you. So you really want to go very wide and shallow until you kind of gain confidence and understanding of within your niche that you're learning and mastering that what typically is happening there. And then, and only then would I say my general rule for our team is around 2 months.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about how your business is operating today. What are your primary like sourcing strategies, OA, wholesale, something else? How are you finding the products? And then just give us like a picture of how your business operates.
Sure. And I'll kind of tell you that as I've progressed type thing. As I mentioned earlier, when I started out, Eiley was working in the basement of our rented house in the laundry room. So I think it was like a 10 by 12 space. And I was doing a ton of things like video games and clearance type stuff. And as I've grown and transitioned, I've moved much more into I find products that are just regularly priced here at the store, or they're just regularly priced, on Target.com, Walmart.com, but then resell on Amazon for more. And whether that be because it's a flavor that that person can't get anymore, or whether they just don't want to go to the store, I honestly really stopped questioning like why these people pay these prices for these certain things, and I just accept the data for what the data tells me. So if they want to pay $15 for some Reese's Pieces, more power to them. As I've grown and developed, kind of as Logan and I have already touched on, and as our cash reserves have grown, that our constraint has moved away from I have way more time than I have money. It's now I have way more money than I have time. So in order to kind of equalize those out, we've lowered our ROI and margin thresholds. And as Logan said, we look for very similar things. We don't really super worry about ROI. I'm not saying that you shouldn't worry about ROI. It does. All metrics kind of have their place and strategy within your business. I'd say at the start, I would not recommend someone going lower than like 25% ROI until they for sure have a grasp on understanding their fees and understanding how to kind of value their time within the prep process. But we look at a lot of things where it's like, oh, I can slap a sticker on this box. Cool. I can easily prep 200 of those in an hour. If that only makes me a couple dollars and has like 10% margin, that's okay if it sells, a few to several hundred times a month. And focusing on more and more of those things where they don't really make me a whole lot. They're really boring. They're a bunch of base hits. There's stuff that you literally just go and look at, like, why would someone do this? This is toilet paper. Well, maybe with COVID, toilet paper is a bad example, but this is just something that's very obvious and not special at all. Oh, why would someone pay more? I don't worry about stuff like that. And really, we're just focusing on things that keep our team busy and things that kind of fit within our parameters of we're going to prep about this many. So we know our labor costs are this much and that we factor that in. And therefore, we're going to make kind of this, specific dollar amount, per hour, per prep hour. It's kind of what we're looking at. So as someone continues to scale, time is going to continue to become the scarcer and scarcer resource, and likely money is going to become the easier thing to come by. So they're going to either need to, well, lower their ROI expectations and or kind of build a team as you've been, doing, Logan, with virtual assistants and kind of help curate, leads for you, using things like lead lists to kind of give you an idea of where to start your sourcing so that you can burn through that money faster.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so do you have a team of VAs that are finding leads for you, or what does your product research look like?
Right now, our VAs actually do not handle any of our product research.
Interesting.
They literally just handle. I know it is interesting. They literally just handle our like all of our account health, talking to Amazon, opening cases, and things of that nature, dealing with IP claims, and stuff like that. And that most of our product research, it is extremely unsexy, but we over time have continued to kind of curate a list of other sellers that we deem to be like skilled and competent. What we're looking for within those sellers are typically a certain amount of reviews with a certain amount of positive feedback. And then when we look at their storefronts, we're looking for certain products that indicate either A, they're doing some wholesale, and then we'll go and attempt to track down that wholesaler and see if we can also open an account. Or if they're doing something like RA or OA, do we understand where this product is coming from? Example of that would be you see someone that's reselling some, Trader Joe's cookies. Well, Trader Joe's does not have an online presence. So, that person physically had to go to Trader Joe's, physically pick up that product. So therefore, a person that does that is probably also doing some other retail arbitrage type things. So they may be someone that, if that's a model that works well for your area, that you would want to pay attention to. And then kind of lastly, as an example of some OA, looking at, say, something like mainstays or equates, or if you saw, oh, someone is carrying those products, you'd know that, oh, those products are from Walmart. And so therefore, I can perhaps also go source those products right from Walmart, whether that's physically going to the store to pick it up or buying from walmart.com, and then going ahead and just continually curating those people. And then we have basically some custom tool stuff that helps us keep track of whenever those stores add new ASINs to their storefronts. We can basically get a notification to a web app. And so then we can know within, I don't know, generally like 6 to 8 hours, if you add something to your store and we're watching you, we'll know, hey,
Oh,
you added this product in. And then we can go ahead and look at that product and see that, oh, it never existed before in your inventory. And then we can go ahead and match it up with our Airtable references and see, have we ever carried this product before? And then we can go ahead and reanalyze it to see if it makes sense. Or we can know that, hey, cool, this is a brand new product. And that's especially fun in these times right now where I think that RA is going to be a little bit bigger of a deal this summer with all the price slashing, is that we have the capacity to also know if a product you add, if you're merchant fulfilling it versus sending it to FBA. So therefore, if I was watching your store and you merchant fulfilled something, well, then I would know, cool, Logan physically went to the store to get this. So therefore, well, probably physically went to the store to get that if it was, say, new from yesterday. So then therefore, oh, I want to look at this product and see, is it available locally for pickup? And then maybe join you.
that sounds really cool and really terrifying. And
Hey, as we talk about all the time, you and I, it's really, life is all about data.
Yep.
So the more data that you have that you can pull in front of you, and that's what makes the tool kind of like tactical arbitrage, or like a seller amp and rev seller and easy insight. All those little tools that kind of help us make decisions faster. They just give us more data
Yeah.
or easier to interpret data.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who's doing product research and you're looking at a product and you're not buying the product, you're buying the data behind the product is what I'm trying to get at. Like you're talking about like Reese's Puffs for $15. Don't question it. If the data tells you that it's happening, it's happening. It's not our job to figure out why customers are doing it or really what kind of products we think are going to do well. We're looking at data, and if the data's there, then that's what leads to good buying decisions.
Yep, 100%.
What are some of your goals for your business this year?
Well, so one of the big things that we have, so we have some special equipment that's used in contract manufacturing. So, for example, if anyone listening has ever wondered how does like Hershey's get their Hershey's Kisses in a bag? Well, pretty much what they have is a conveyor that picks product up, and then it goes on this little line that vibrates them into these little like containers, so to speak. And all those containers have little scales in them, and when all their math adds up in some combination to hit a target weight, it will then dispense it and then will then bag it for you. Our big goal, for this year is to have our contract manufacturing slash co-packing business, fully set up to handle all types of products, whether they're already sealed in a bag, like you'd see in those little like Andes mints or Jolly Ranchers, where they're already in a little package, or whether it's something open where like you approach me about you want to make some private label, coffee beans, to where I can handle either of those types of products and then help you bag them up and get them to the market.
Cool. What led you to wanting to develop that as part of your business?
A couple years ago during, peak COVID, when everything was going super crazy, we kind of saw that the market kind of goes in cycles, and that, we knew that this frenzied like phrase or time wouldn't last forever, and that, things would become more difficult. So one of the things we wanted to do is how do we future proof this? Our goal has always been to we want to be around, in 10, 20 years from now. So then one of the things we can do is, well, how can we provide value to the market? And one of my friends, his father-in-law works for a local grocery store, and they were saying how they package up some products that come to them. Like if you ever looked at like the little bags of like that your local grocery store might have of like malted milk balls or whatever, and you're looking, you're like, this label's not very fancy. Where'd this come from? It looks like someone just threw it in this bag. Well, that's pretty much what happened. They probably had a machine do it, or they literally had someone actually like dump it in a certain room under certain like legal conditions to pack it and then resell that thing. So we saw that as a, hey, there's a lot of businesses that really need help kind of getting off the ground, and a lot of companies that offer this type of contract manufacturing either have, for the Amazon seller, have what we believe is a ridiculous MOQ of say several thousand units needing to be produced, and or a ridiculous like price per unit. One product we were quoted on, I think our cheapest quote was they needed a run of 2,000 of it, and they wanted $7 for packaging the product in the container, and then a lid and then a label. And obviously they would provide all those things except the product. We'd give them the product, but then the container, lid, and label, they'd provide all that. And $7 a unit for something that's food related, that's pretty much all your margin that you're going to get on that product after your additional shipping and then processing. So we really sought to, if we want to get into that space, what can we do? Well, we have a commercial kitchen here on site, so we can bring all this stuff in-house and reduce our costs there. And then also we can go ahead and bring value to, hopefully to other Amazon sellers by being able to work with them and help them get products off the ground to where yes, they're going to do way more legwork than they would with a traditional contract manufacturer, but where we'll be able to put more work on them up front to where we'll be able to decrease their cost per unit so that they can actually feasibly get this product to market as opposed to just having to scrap it.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you typically prefer to do everything in-house, or are there certain things that you like to use like services for?
I do love me some services. There are definitely certain things that I think when Whenever you're looking at learning new tools or strategies, there are certain things that you should outsource and there are certain things that you should do yourself. And it's really going to depend on kind of what your path is or what you believe your path is as a business owner. For example, anything graphic design related, I am terrible at it. I don't have the time, or nor do I care. It's just to say I don't care about how my product looks, but I do not have the skill set for that, nor do I have the time, and nor do I have any employees that are necessarily super good at it. And so therefore, that is 100% something that I'm going to outsource and find somebody to go do. But then there are other certain things when it comes to like certain coding and understanding how to like automate certain parts of the business, that although I could hire someone off of Fiverr, which if you're looking for any help with anything, I highly recommend the platforms Fiverr and Upwork for any type of coding, graphic design, copywriting work that you might need. Those are both very good platforms to find people to help you with those. There's certain things that I want to learn and I want to know how to do because I believe it makes my skill set as a business owner more versatile to carry me into the future. So there are certain things that I will punish myself and bang my head against the wall for several weeks to learn and understand so that I'm just a better equipped business owner instead of just passing it off to somebody and letting them set something up for me, but then I don't really understand how it works.
Yeah, that makes sense. I generally like as a business owner, I want to outsource pretty much everything except for the tasks that I really enjoy doing. But for the most part, I just like the starting new things. So like all the tasks of actually running something, I want to be outsourced. But what I found is most of the tasks are more efficiently and cheaper outsourced in-house. So while I'm outsourcing to someone else, I'm still like keeping it in-house to make it cheaper, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like how since I started my own warehouse and prep center, if I was just doing a few hundred units a month, I would probably just send it to a prep center in a tax-free state. But since I'm selling thousands of units a month, that would really add up. That'd be close to a $10,000 bill every month, where I can do that much cheaper and more efficiently in-house, and also being able to offer prep services to other clients as well.
Yep. Exactly.
So, what does your day to day look like? What does a day in the life of Cody look like for the business?
Yeah, the nice thing about being a business owner is it's never boring. So it's never quite the same. One of the big things that I'm personally passionate about in just kind of being able to be, self-employed and kind of in charge of what I'm doing is that I don't like to wake up early. And that does not mean that I don't like to work because I find work very fulfilling. But if I'm not feeling well and I want to, rest till 10 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever, I want to be able to do that. So that's one of the big things I value about being self-employed. So, but then other days, we go super hard. Like today, I was up till I think 4 a.m. working on something, and then I went to sleep, and then I got up at 10 a.m. to get ready for some meetings and things like that. A lot of my day to day now kind of consists of networking and talking to people about various projects that are being worked on, whether that's kind of directly for me or whether that's, talking with a contractor, whether it's talking with, one of my managers that's dealing with some other employees, things. That's a lot of my life right now. We also have a pretty new prep center as well. So, getting used to, the different process flow of handling someone else's products and needing to communicate with them. We've been having fun dealing with that, I guess you could say. And so, some days I'll go in and help prep. And then other days, like today, I was mostly here at this computer. And so some days I'll go out and do a bunch of RA, and it really just kind of depends on, what I'm feeling and what I feel needs to be done to fix up my life and to push the business forward. One big thing I will say is that I truly believe no work in my business is beneath me. So if it needs to get done, if I got to go hop on the line for, 12 hours because two people called out sick and we got stuff to do, that work's not beneath me. I'm not better than that work. I will go do that work. I think that especially when you grow a business and start to build a team, that your team understanding that like, hey, you as the business owner, that you're willing to work hard and that you're not just going to sit there and boss them around, that really builds a lot of like kind of morale and respect and really makes it so that they're also more willing to give like kind of the 110% when like crunch time really happens.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you have any final advice or tips to someone who's starting out or looking to scale their Amazon business?
Yeah, so I got a few.
Yeah.
So, and with the last one I know is not going to shock you. So kind of looping back to what we first said about just generally scaling and building out your replens, is that replens are life. Being able to come back to a product, whether it kind of makes you $2 profits or whether it makes you like $5 profit, but being able to continually return to something and buy it over and over again and know that it's going to sell at this pretty consistent rate, that's what really helps businesses grow. So definitely, if you have not taken the time to kind of learn more about how to find replenishables, obviously keep following and paying attention to Logan. And then Logan, I don't know, do you recommend are there any courses and stuff that you recommend for people for replenishment stuff? Or
Replan workshop, of course.
okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll shout
Okay.
out all of Nate's courses.
Okay, cool. I just wasn't sure. I was like, I'm not gonna say it,
Yeah.
because maybe you have something else. But yeah, Nate Jackson of Hustle Buddies on Facebook, some excellent courses. One talking about replenishables. I think it's something ridiculous, like 16 hours of content or something. It's absurd. So it's well worth the money. Continue to invest in your education. Something I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get to touch on it more, but networking is super important. That's something really didn't value a lot at the beginning. I was just kind of in my own world. But the more I've kind of put myself out there and just tried to give back, even if people sometimes are like, Cody, we think you're stupid and this is wrong. Like I find that just trying to get you do reap what you sow, you do pull back what you give out. And so being willing to be a giver without any expectation of getting things in return, just wanting to help people, that's one of the big ways that you're going to succeed. Some of my best kind of like ideas or things that were kind of pivotal in pushing my business to the next level literally came from just some random Amazon friend when we were like chatting. They're like, "Oh, hey, did you ever think about, making your own listings or doing this, this, this?" It's like, "No, I never thought about that." And then, fast forward to a year later, it's the key facet of your business or really change the game for you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I definitely super recommend that if say you're listening to this and you got like a couple buddies in a group and you're like, oh, we're all selling maybe like a couple thousand a month or a couple 10,000s a month. Yeah, cool. You hit each other up, form like a small little mastermind, you know, no holds barred. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain, show this is your store. This is what you struggle with. And you'll find that like when you share stuff like that with people that you trust, you'll see that they'll share stuff with you and they'll open your mind to, things that you would have never really thought were possible. And then I guess kind of the last thing that this is what I said you won't be surprised about is so when it comes to like organizing like and structuring your data, whether you're going to use Google Sheets or for myself and many others, I recommend looking into something called Airtable as it's a database. So it's a much, I'd say it's a bit more appropriate for inventory based businesses, but figure out a way that you can structure the data you look at so that you can easily comb back through the data and that it's not overwhelming to look at. And then once you're able to set that up, whether that's a simple, I just make a Google Sheet. Every time I buy something, it goes in there. And then I update it, twice a month with how many times that thing's sold. Once you get to some structure like that, and then you're like, oh, I can go through this line by line. Then the steps are, how do I outsource this so I can do something else, or I can get this data to me in shorter chunks? So people are obsessed with outsourcing, which outsourcing is awesome. Virtual assistants are great. The prep help is fantastic. But a lot of people, they want to give too much away at the beginning. So they haven't even learned how to like do anything themselves. They're just trying to give all the work away to other people, but you can't lead someone to a place that you've never gone before. So I find it very helpful to structure data to where, I have this system that I can go through these certain things and then make a buying decision. And then if you want to get a VA involved, then okay, I'll give this to the VA at first. And then, okay, I just need the VA to go through these 10 things. They need to pick out what's obviously bad. And maybe the obviously bad things are things that like when you subtract your buy cost and then your Amazon fees, maybe the thing makes like, negative dollars profit. It's obviously bad. Well, then instead of you needing to sift through the things that are obviously bad, maybe the VA curates a list of things where they're like, this thing makes like a dollar or maybe a little bit less, and they're just not sure. It's a little bit profitable, but they don't know. And then you can go ahead and look through that shorter little list of stuff. And then over time, work with them and push them more and more forward to now that they know how to find stuff that's obviously bad. teach them how to understand how the velocity of a product, and then set a criteria for that, and then just keep building and building and building.
It's really great advice. Cody, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And I
Yeah,
think
man.
everyone's going
Super
to get
great
a ton
having
of
you.
value out of this.
Yeah, dude. It was super great. Great being here. Great connecting with you as always.
Yeah, thank you.